Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at the performance descriptors specifically. I'm going to read them and make sure that it's explaining exactly what we're looking for within each level and for each specific criterion. Sometimes it can use language that's probably not very appropriate for a rubric, so I'm going to be looking out for things like that. And then I'm also going to be making sure that it's covering things to the extent or going into the detail that I want for each criterion. So it's just now a matter of reading through each cell and just seeing if there's enough distinction between the levels, and also to see whether it's sort of talking about relevant stuff. Okay, so already I can see here with strong evidence, it's not really what I want. What I want students to do is they have a little vignette at the beginning of the essay instructions, and so what they need to do is identify in the vignette the concepts, and we can get to the evidence later. So I don't really want that part in there, so I'm going to ask it to remove it. Okay, so you can see it has rewritten the performance descriptors as I've asked it to. It's not referencing strong evidence. It's referring to the fact that I've asked them to identify these concepts in the vignette. And if you look across the levels, it's making quite clear distinctions that will be obvious to markers, the differences in the grade levels. So an HD example would be clearly identifies 2 associative learning concepts in the vignette, whereas a D is doing that, but there's some minor inaccuracies. At C level, there's some inaccuracies. At the P level, there's significant inaccuracies. And for F, there's that they're failing to identify the associative learning concepts in the vignette accurately. So that's pretty good. Okay, let's have a look at the second criterion now. So explain associative learning concepts. Provides thorough and accurate explanations of how concepts are embedded in the vignette. Explanations provides inadequate or incorrect explanations. Yeah, so that's quite good. We have a look at describe neuropharmacological processes now. Accurately describes neuropharm processes and changes in the system, uses high quality scientific literature. Okay, so again, it's picking up high quality scientific literature, and that's really what this criterion, use of scientific evidence, is tapping into. So I want to remove that. Okay, so I've asked it to rewrite the performance descriptions for part 2 describe, removing reference to high quality scientific literature because that's captured in the use of scientific evidence criterion, and replace that with insufficient detail because they need to be doing this with some level of detail so that we can determine whether the student actually understands the processes that are happening. Okay. Okay, so it has made the change that I've asked it to, but at the D level, it's a little bit incorrect. So what I would do, rather than edit this using prompts, I'd be more inclined to keep this as it is. And then once I copy and paste it into Word, I'll deal with making the adjustments to the performance descriptors once I have it in Word. Because I feel like if I just keep prompting it, it's just going to keep changing things in an unusual way. So I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. Okay, so let's have a look at integrate neuropharmacological processes now. Okay, so again, it's picking up on high quality scientific literature. And actually it's a little bit incorrect as well, because what I want it to do is integrate the neuropharmacological processes with the associative learning concepts that they've addressed in part 1 of the essay question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an adjustment here. Okay, so I'm asking it to adjust the performance description so that it reflects the requirement that the students integrate the neuropharmacological processes with the associative learning concepts identified in part 1. And I've also asked it to remove the high quality scientific literature again, because it's already a criterion itself. Okay, so it's done a pretty good job there. It's removed the scientific evidence component to this criterion, and it has integrates neuropharmacological processes with associative learning concepts identified in part 1 with detailed explanations. That's the kind of answer I would be looking for top marks in that criterion. Okay, and it's distinguishing between performance levels quite well as well. Okay, so let's now have a look at use of scientific evidence. Uses high quality, relevant scientific literature to support arguments. Integrates literature seamlessly into the discussion. That's quite good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Integrates well, basic integration, poor integration, fails to integrate. So it's distinguishing between the levels well. What I don't like is the word seamlessly. I just don't think it's an appropriate language. So I'm just going to ask it to replace that with something else. Okay, so let's have a look at the changes that it's made. Okay, so it's replaced the word seamlessly with effectively, and that's quite good actually. I like the use of that word there because if they're using the evidence effectively to support their claims, that's exactly what we would want at the HD level. Integrates literature well, basic integration, poor integration, fails to integrate. So that's distinguishing between the levels quite well there. All right, so let's have a look at essay structure, style, and grammar. Okay, I don't like that it's picking up on subheadings. Students can use subheadings, but I don't think it needs to be part of the rubrics. I'm going to ask it to take subheadings out, but leave the rest. Okay, so let's have a look now at the performance descriptors for APA formatting. It's saying here strict adherence to APA 7th edition formatting submitted on time with all required components. So the fact that it's submitted on time is not something I would have in the rubric. It's something that I would deduct points from after the content has been marked. So I'm going to ask it to remove that. But I'm also going to be really specific that it picks up APA style document formatting and citations and references. So I'm just going to slightly reword that. Okay, so you can see that for APA formatting, I asked it to remove references to late penalties and whether the essay was submitted on time to reflect more what we mean by APA formatting, which is document setup and citations and reference list. So it's done a good job there. I'll just have a look at the levels now. Strict adherence to 7th edition formatting, minor issues, some issues, significant issues, or poor adherence. So that's pretty good. So I can comfortably say that that's a really good first draft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the table and then I'm going to paste it into Word, and I can make further refinements from there. So I can make those tweaks to the part 2 describe neuropharmacological processes once I have it in Word, because it'll just be a little easier to do it there rather than via prompts. So then it's just a matter of opening up Word and then pasting the table into a Word document. So within a few minutes and using a few prompts, I've been able to create a really solid first draft of a rubric, which I can make further minor adjustments to within Word. So what would have previously without AI taken me a day to write, I can have a really good rubric in less than an hour.
So why don't you give it a go? It's super easy and will save you heaps of time.